Sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. I'm kind of sick today, which is why this video took so long to make. This is my review of all three Power Ranger movies. That's starting with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in 1995 and finishing up with the most recent film that was released March of this year, and I'll also be doing longer versions of each of these films. I actually already did longer versions of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, and of course Turbo a Power Rangers movie, but I wanted to redo that video. The links to those old reviews will be in the description box below for those who want to see the original reviews. But this is going to be my this is my re-review of both of those films. This is a group reviews. For some odd reason, I always love doing group reviews before I do another long before I do a longer in-depth individual review. And with that being said, right here, I'm going to start off with the very first Power Ranger film, and probably, in my opinion, this is the best Power Ranger movie of the three Power Rangers films. Before I get to the film, though, one thing I love about Power Rangers, as an adult, as you can see on my channel, if you haven't already noticed, I already took down most of my Power Ranger series review, because as an adult, I don't really like Power Rangers too much. Pretty much the 90s English Power Rangers. Most of the 2000s Power Rangers. Most of the 2000s Power Rangers are like Lost Galaxy, which was actually 98, and that was the final Power Ranger of the Zordon era, of the Zordon Fox Kids era. After that, the Power Rangers would begin a completely new continuity after this one. Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, Time Force, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD Emergency, and of course the Nickelodeon era, Samurai, Mega Force, and of course the Mega Force, Dino Charge, and now Ninja Steel, the current one of my favorites, and that's all in the 2000s and 2010s, with Lost Galaxy being in the late 90s, 1998, but that was closer to the 2000s. Yeah, I do not like the 90s era. The only thing I like about the 90s era was that the 90s era, that was Power Rangers, that was the iconic era, the music, and of course the 90s had the best cast for a Power Rangers franchise. But I consider the 90s to be inferior to the 2000s, and one of the main reasons I have with the original Power Rangers series, that's Mighty Morphin all the way to Power Rangers in Space, is the footage, is the budget, and the footage, and the pacing in the television series. While the television series is fast-paced and fun, or fast-paced and exciting, nothing happens for like the entire series. And then see the Power Rangers, the English version, they're adapted from the Japanese versions. The Japanese versions, which are superior. I consider Power Rangers in the Tokusatsu Sentai genre, that type of genre, which is what it's called. I consider that to be a completely Japanese thing. I consider it to be a completely thing, and I consider to America to have kind of, no pun intended, to have kind of bastardized it, because they kind of made it for children, whereas in Japan the age differences are different. It was pretty much for everyone. So that's a problem. That's a problem I have with the English version. And see, they were dependent on the Japanese footage. So all the effects and stuff you see were based on the Japanese footage. And if the Japanese footage didn't get here in time, which happened a lot, that would lead to plot holes, such as in one episode, we're watching Linkara's review. Rita Repulsa created some super putties to battle the Power Rangers. Well, the Power Rangers fought the super putties in a previous episode, but when Rita reintroduced them in another episode, they were shocked to see them despite already fighting them. You see, and that's the problem I have with the Power Rangers. In the 2000s, they would fix that, and the next is the filler stuff. Nothing in the Power Rangers series. It was mostly Rita Repulsa and her henchmen coming up with monsters to go fight the Power Rangers. Nothing happened for the entire series, with the exception of the introduction of Tommy, the Green Ranger, the most popular and probably the best and most memorable Power Rangers. Nothing happened until that. Then nothing happened again until the debut of Zed and season 3, which was probably the best season of the best season of them all. Then you had Power Rangers Zeo. Then you had Power Rangers Zeo, which was much better, but still most of the same problems as what's his name. And the biggest problem with Zeo is no real ending due to them running out of footage. They had they immediately come up with Turbo, a Power Ranger movie, which was a sequel to that to lead into another series. And then Turbo was entertaining, but as I saw in Linkara's review, the story, I thought the movie wasn't that good, but I thought it was plot wise, I thought it was much better than the series. The series as a series was much better than the movie, but plot wise, I thought the series was terrible. This was also when the original cast, Jason David Frank and them, this is when they kind of left and they replaced him with a new cast. And new cast was cool, but it was kind of hard getting new to him. It was kind of hard getting used to him. That's been a problem with Power Rangers since getting used to a new cast. And then one thing I don't like about it in space was why I don't like it in space is that the final battle of the Turbo Power Rangers movie, they used that as the final battle for the final battle of Malagar. The Power Rangers even jokingly admit that he looks the same. So that's the problem I have with the original Mighty Morphin era of Power Rangers, which lasted up until actually Lost Galaxy, but I'm going to say in space, because Lost Galaxy I thought was actually awesome. But I still like to watch from my childhood, and I'll be rewatching each of them and giving my honest reviews. Well, I already gave you my thoughts on them, but giving my longer, in-depth reviews of those. But right now, this is the movies, and I've always thought Power Rangers was much better as a movie. Instead of having a series with nothing happening, having a movie. Instead of having a series with nothing happening, and teens acting over stock footage, having a movie. I thought Power Rangers having a movie with a much better script suited for a 90 to 100-minute film, which is how long the Power Rangers movies are, and having special effects, having an actual budget with special effects and costumes and stuff developed for the movie instead of dubbing English actors over Japanese stock footage. So that's why I always thought Power Rangers was better as a movie. And since 2009, I always wanted Power Rangers to make their triumph and return to the big screen, but didn't think they would ever will due to different times. Back in the 90s, you could do a Power Rangers film. You could have something cheesy like Power Rangers on the big screen, but not now. Not now. Well, in 2017, they proved me wrong, and I'm gonna get to that film in a minute. But I'm gonna start off with the original Mighty Morphin 1995 Power Ranger. This is by far one of my all-time favorite things from the Power Ranger franchise. I think this film right here is underrated, and I think it is much better than the television series, despite the fact, learning as an adult, this show is not in the same continuity as a television series. As a child, when I saw this back in 95, I was way young back in 95. I thought this was a follow-up to the series and a prequel to Alien Rangers and, of course, Zeo, Power Rangers Zeo. But no, it's an alternate opening to season 3 of Power Rangers, and this is a separate universe from the television series. They use concepts of the television series, but came up with their own story, their own villains. The villain Mordic, the pig, and Ivan Ooze were specifically created for the movie. There's no mention of them in the television. No mention of the television series, and everything in this film is non-canon. But I thought this whole film, the story, the action, the effects are dated by today's standards, but go back to 95, and I like how they had go back to 95 and seeing those awesome what I like to call PlayStation Sony PlayStation like graphics. And I just, like I said, I like how this film is what I want from a Power Rangers film. A movie with a good script, a better script than the television series. It's the same cast from the television series, and costume sets, and special effects created especially for the movie, especially for the movie, and of course a rocket soundtrack. Awesome, you have an awesome soundtrack. You got so many awesome songs, so many awesome songs. You even had Dreams by Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen. I can't remember the name of each rock each song. I can't remember the name of each song. I can't remember the name or artist of who performed each song in this film. I also remember Shampoo's Trouble, which is briefly used in the film and is also in one of the trailers for the film. There's even an awesome music video of that song. So like I said, an awesome superhero movie for that time. And this film got mixed reviews, as I would expect from a Power Rangers film. It got mixed reviews and was a financial success at that time. So yeah, this right here is an awesome film. I can't wait to rewatch and talk about this awesome movie again. And like I said, one thing I like about this film, I love how it went more in depth with the Power Rangers losing their powers and having to go on a journey of enlightenment to regain to regain um their powers, to regain their powers. I thought this entire film was much better than the television series, especially the first season. And in the Power Rangers and the Mighty Morphin Era, whenever I watched Mighty Morphin Era, the first season was okay, but the second two seasons were better. I like Tommy as the leader of the I like Tommy as the leader of the Power Rangers. So yeah, that was this one. That was this Power Rangers film. The next one is Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. Now, the interesting trivia with this film. This film is often packaged with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, despite the fact this film is not a sequel to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the film. In 2011, Shout Out, I think that's Shout Out Factory, I think that's what they're called, released both Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. They released them together. But Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, is a follow-up and sequel to the Power Rangers Zeo television series, which was a sequel to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah, like I said, Turbo, Zeo ran out of footage for the Zeo season, so they had to quickly transfer over and bring the Turbo season from Japan over here, and they created Turbo, a Power Rangers film. Now, this movie, I love this film, but as an adult, it is, however, not a good film. And the reason it's not a good film is because while the cast was great, I thought the fight choreography, while not as good as the first one, it was still great. It was still good. And I thought the storyline was much better than the first one, despite a couple of inconsistencies here and there. Problem with this film: budget. The whole thing is a big theatrical blockbuster, yet it looks like a television film. It looks like an episode of a television series. Whereas the first one looked way better. The first one, which had a movie budget, looked way better than the television series. But this was still an awesome film. Another problem this film had was pacing issues. But I like how they tried something new. Tried to have more personal drama between the actors, and I thought they handled this better than they did in the newer Power Rangers film. Because that's before I even get to the last Power Rangers film, that's one problem the most recent Power Rangers movie had, was pacing. That's not a problem, and you can't have that problem in a Power Rangers film unless you have you can't have like more talking scenes, unless you have actors who are like really, really good. You gotta have action nonstop, man. You gotta have action nonstop with some talking scenes. You gotta have more action though. That is a must in a Power Rangers film. In a Power Rangers film. But I like how this film tried something new. best scenes are the beginning where Rocky and Tommy are at a karate match and Rocky gets injured, forcing the Blue Ranger to take his place. When they're introduced to their when Zordon introduced them to their new costumes and their new race cars, their new race cars, and their new vehicles, and of course their brand new and you hear the badass Turbo intro music, which I just used as my intro in this video, and of course I also love the return of Jason, Jason, the original Red Ranger, and of course Kimberly, the Pink Ranger here, except they weren't Power Rangers in this film, and they even turned them evil, which I thought was pretty cool at the end. And the final battle with Malagar the Demon was good. This battle, and this is the problem I have with the Zordon era, this battle from this film will later be reused as the final battle of Power Rangers in space. But like I said, awesome film. The best things about this film, of course, are the story, action, the actors, the acting, and last but not least, the music. The soundtrack was not as good as the first one, but I like how the soundtrack here was completely original. No borrowed songs from anywhere. They composed every soundtrack from this film. I keep forgetting the guy who composed soundtracks for the early Power Ranger series, but awesome. What a phenomenal movie. Like I said, movie by today's standards isn't that good, but this is still an all-time favorite film of mine. And I enjoy it much more than I do. I like and enjoy it much more than I do the television series that followed it. Next is the most recent Power Rangers film. I had a conversation with a former friend in 2009 and early 2010 of how cool would it be to have a brand new Power Rangers film in theaters. I didn't think it would be possible. You can't put something like Power Rangers on the screen in this day and age. Back in the 90s, you can get away with it, but now, no. But it showed if you make a couple of changes to it, you can put a Power Rangers film on theater. You can put a Power Rangers film in theaters, and this Power Rangers film, while not grossing a lot of money, they did receive a mixed reception from critics. I finally got a chance to watch it. I wanted to see it with a friend, but the friend saw it without me, and I decided to watch it just for free because I had a lot of problems with it going into the film. And one of the main problems I had was, see, even though this film, one problem I have with a lot of modern day reboots or sequels to films is that they want to be their own film. They want to be completely different from anything original, from the original source, yet they use things from the original source and change them around, which makes people like me angry. Like, I didn't like them changing the nationalities. I didn't like them changing the nationalities of the Power Rangers. And if you want to change their nationalities, why would you use the names of the original 5 Power Rangers from the American Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Trini, Jason, Zach, Kimberly, and Billy. Why would you use those names? Why would you use elements from the English version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? You can do your own thing. Yeah, that was a problem I had going into the film, but that's no longer a problem since most of the cast, especially the woman playing Rita, and of course Bryan Cranston portraying Zordon, and of course Billy, the guy portraying Billy, and the guy portraying the Asian portraying Zach. They were the MVPs of the film. They were the best actors in the film. Everyone else really wasn't that good, but they played their roles. They fit their characters, and they fit most of the personalities of these characters. And I love how they had tried to add more depth to the Power Rangers, and I love the storyline. Problems, just like with Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. Pacing issues, and it's even worse in this film than it was in the previous film, because the previous film at least had great actors. The actors were most of the actors, like I said, all the actors here, with the exception of four, were for the most part subpar. And you have a bunch of talking scenes, and that's why the film didn't make a lot of money. If you make a Power Rangers film, you have to have action nonstop. You're competing with the MC and DC cinematic universes. You gotta have action nonstop, and that's what the critics said. The negative critics said is that it takes elements from both the DC, from both the Marvel and DC cinematic universes, but it's nowhere near as good as either of them. It's nowhere near as good as either of them. I would even say this film, despite the story and the action being on point, this film is kind of terrible. Just like X-Men Apocalypse for me. But the last 30 to 40 minutes, which is the Power Rangers trying to learn how to use their powers, which I thought was cool, them being unable to morph, and the entire final fight where you finally get some Power Rangers action is worth the price of admission. And if they had that throughout the film, it would have been good. Another problem I had with the film was Rita Repulsa. She kind of had no purpose in this movie. She just existed here to be a strong opponent for the Power Rangers to fight, just like Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse. Even Rita in the show, this is one thing the original show did better. At her most campiest, was a much better character, had more personality. Same with Goldar, who also makes an appearance in this film. I was disappointed that Goldar was just a special effect when he was an actual character in the original Power Rangers series. The one thing that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the original Power Rangers from '90s, the Cheese-tastic Power Rangers from the '90s did, they did villains way better. At their campiest, they had more personality and more of a purpose to be in the series than just be a strong opponent for the Power Rangers to fight. But the actors did a good job. The Goldar effect was cool, and so was the final battle. But I just wish it would have been more than just an effect. But yeah, like I said, what a phenomenal film, man. This film was so good, despite being bad. This film was so good, was so damn entertaining. If they do make another one, I will definitely watch a sequel, because they claim that they have a six story arc planned with these characters. I would definitely watch a sequel, man. I will definitely watch a sequel. Like I said, this was my short group review of each of the Power Rangers films. Later on today, it's 4 o'clock right now. Later on today, or should I say tonight, I'm going to give my longer in-depth review of each Power Ranger film. Like I said, the reason this took so long because I was sick, but I quickly wanted to get this out, man. All right, I'm done. Hit my music.